everybody. Javier here once again for another exciting episode of Javier in the Air. This time the themes are cooking and beer. Yes, always going to go with the beer, at least for now. Thank you for everyone who's been able to offer me feedback and give me thoughts and suggestions. I will be doing the podcast from a different location in my house next week, so I just want to let everybody know to be prepared for that. I think it'll be better for the lighting, and it'll be better to have just a little bit of a different location so that you can see different parts of my house. So, last week got a lot of good feedback from the podcast, a lot of good people watching it, a lot of thoughts and comments, and thanks again for James Pavlovsky for providing us that great interview about his book. And so we'll be doing more interviews, and I can continue to get people to interview with me, I should say. And so if anybody is interested, please let me know. Send me a direct message or comment in my YouTube channel, and let me know that you're interested in being on here. I know my cousin Jesse, that's right, I haven't forgotten you, Jesse. He wants to be on there, so next week I'm going to be interviewing him. And I don't know what we're going to do. It's going to be interesting, I'm sure. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll talk about, who knows? We'll find out next week, won't we? Okay, so this week, let's get to this week. This week we are talking about cooking, specifically Hawaiian cooking. I've mentioned these people before in the past, and excuse me, let me have a little sip of the old H2O. Okay, so I mentioned my friends James and Julia Takishita before. They had some comments before. I've talked to them a little bit about music and stuff like that. If you don't know, James is from Hawaii. He was born and raised there, grew up there, enjoyed the Hawaiian Islands as people who are from there would, better than any tourists coming there or anything like that. So it's been great to talk to him about different things. He is an avid, I want to say, foodie. He loves to cook, and he likes to cook a lot of things that are native for him as far as like the Hawaiian culture goes. And Julia lived on Hawaii for a while. And so I believe that is where they met. I'm not sure. I think it is, but we can always ask them at another time about their relationship. That's a whole nother podcast. We could do that, spend years on relationships, failed and not failed, and people who have been together for a long time and that sort of thing. But we're not here for that. We're here for Hawaii. So James was kind enough to accept to be interviewed by me, and he cooked an authentic Hawaiian dish called Spam Musubi. It's taken me quite a while, and I had to do quite a few edits and retakes of this opening scene because I kept saying it wrong. Musubi. I'm gonna keep saying it a couple of times, Musubi, just so I can make sure I have it right. And actually, you'll see that I get it wrong actually during the interview. So I went a little bit different this time, and I went over to James and Julia's house. They're not too far away from me, and they live in deep in Cedar Park. And we went through, and James was nice enough to cook me some Spam Musubi. We talk a little bit about it, and then I also have a back part of it where he makes the sauce. So if you don't know, I think the best way I can explain it at a high level is kind of a Spam California roll type of thing. Definitely done. You do it the same way like you would make sushi, but it's Spam, and it's Spam sandwiched between rice and rice, sticky rice specifically, and the Spam is really good. I had to be honest, and I think I say it in the video as well, that I was not raised on Spam. Didn't like the way Spam looked, to be honest. When it comes out of that tin, I don't know about you, but to me it just looked and I am a texture and visual kind of guy when it comes to food. I would love to be one of those foodies that could just eat anything and go with it, whether it tastes okay or not. But I'm not. I'm one of those that I just kind of and so for a long time I stayed away from Spam because it just didn't look appetizing to me. However, and to be fair to James, James does a great job of cooking some musubi for me, and I actually get to make one as well. And I took home what I made and I ate it, and it was fantastic. It was really good. The flavoring was nice, the right amount of rice as well. The seaweed it's seaweed, so it's dried seaweed just like you would for sushi. It's a little bit on the smells of the ocean, so to say, but it wasn't but it wasn't off-putting, and it made for a really good. It really keeps everything nice and tight in there. Almost, it looked to me like a weird version of an ice cream sandwich, but of course it wasn't ice cream in it. It was spam and rice, and so it was really good. And so I'm gonna go ahead and turn this over to interview Hav and James Takishita, and James is gonna cook for us, like I said, Spam Musubi. So take it away, interview Hav. Hey everybody, Javier here. I have to apologize for doing this, but however, the audio did not come out that great from the new camera that I got. So I am going to have to speak over these guys and talk about it. So here we are in James and Julia Takishita's house, and we're talking about musubi. And musubi is a popular dish that is Hawaiian in nature, and it comprises this one is actually spam musubi, and as you see here, James is using the seaweed like you would for the dried seaweed like you would for sushi and that sort of thing, and you can find that just about anywhere. What we did in advance was we made the rice in advance, and James soaked the cooked the spam and then soaked it overnight in a wonderful sauce that we talk about a little bit later on. So what James is using here is a little device for making it quite easy to make rolls, especially for musubi. And so he takes the dried seaweed. Now there's two sides to the seaweed. One side is a little bit rougher than the other, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you've ever used it. So you want the rough side up, and then you apply this is sticky rice, and we are putting the sticky rice in here. He's putting it in this handy dandy little mold type of thing. You put in enough that you want to have at least half an inch or so at the bottom of your mold. So after you fill it up, you go ahead and use the little pressing device that it comes with. Press down, and then you put in your spam. So the rice was hot. The spam was soaked in the sauce overnight. You can heat that up and grill it again if you want. Because the rice was hot, you are able to put the spam on there, and you don't have to heat it up. We didn't heat it up. We just put it in there cold. And so you apply more rice on top, and like I said, it kind of looks like a little unusual ice cream sandwich. You press it down. You want to keep it pressed in as you pull up the mold itself, so then you see what it looks like outside of the mold. So James is talking a little bit about growing up and how they used to make these, and it's a wonderful little snack or for meals or anything like that. So after you got it all rolled up, you just go ahead and slice it in half. Now James likes to slice it a little bit more than that when he eats it, but when you're done, what you do is you just make it and you throw it there. So now James is like, okay, Javier, now it's your turn to try doing it. So I gave it a whirl. So I got the seaweed, I had it on the wrong side, and then I had it on the right side, and James was telling me a little bit about how you can tell the difference, and it really is a textural feeling to it, but you have to have it in your hands. Don't take my word for it. So give it a shot. So here we are. I'm taking the sticky rice. I am left-handed for the most part, so I'm trying not to knock James over as I reach in there for the rice. I went a little heavy-handed on this, as you can see, probably way more than James did on there. So then I went ahead and pressed the heck out of it. Down on it. It's an old man press. There you go. And I'm talking about how easy it was to do the press in the mold. And then I take the Spam and I apply one, and I apply a second one. Make sure it's nice and centered as I get going. Drop in some more of that sticky rice. Sticky, sticky, sticky. Throw it in there. Pile it on. Again, I probably went a little bit heavier than James did. I think my intention here was that you had to have it all the way up to the top, which you really don't. It's really the amount of the rice that you really want. And so there I go. And I press it down, squeeze the heck out of it, as I explained that. And then James says, well, no, you want to keep that presser there so that you can pull out the mold fairly easy. And it was very easy, by the way. This is a very easy thing to make. So then you wrap it up like you would any other type of sushi type roll. Get it there nice and firm, and then you cut it in half. So what happens is that seaweed starts to hydrate, and because of the sticky rice, it will stick to the rice, and it will become basically like one piece. It's very easy to do. It hydrates very quickly. I went ahead and took home what I could, and so thanks again to James and Julia for letting me into their house and cooking up Spam Musubi. Back to regular Hav. Hey everybody, this is the sauce section of the musubi. So we filmed this prior to the actual breakdown of making the musubi. So James has it's really a very personal sauce that he makes. Is not much to it. He likes it. You can add a lot of other things, make your own different type of sauce, and so this is what James is explaining here. You add what you want to it. Hawaiians like, as he said, Hawaiians like to have things that are really sweet. So he added a cup of soy sauce, and then he added a whole cup of sugar. So you get that sugar and soy sauce together, and then he has these little packet things of, this one was actually garlic, already chopped up into these little balls that you keep in the freezer, or in the fridge, I should say. As you could see there, it was so easy to get into. And then you just kind of plop one out, a little splurt, and pop it out. Unfortunately for us, it squirted out onto other places, so he put a second one in. And then he had the same thing for ginger. So he opened this up and went ahead, and as you can tell, once again, it's very easy to get into. It seems like it was definitely worth the wait. And then he squirted one of those balls of ginger in there. So you can add as little or as much as you want. Add any flavors and seasonings. He does do like 2 or 3 different styles of this musubi sauce. And so he added in there. You just kind of put the top on. Now, what he did say is that he has this specifically called mirin. I think it was called mirin. Kind of a rice wine vinegar type of thing that you can add to it as well. He's not a big fan of it for this concoction, so he just did without it, but he mentioned that you can do it if you want. And again, another thing that's kind of a Hawaiian style of making their own sauces. So you put it into the blender, you close the blender up, you get it going. This was a really cool blender, by the way. It didn't make a lot of noise at all. Mine makes an ear-shattering noise. I might have to get a new one. His was kind of like a sweet one. So then you mix that together for a while, and then you will add it to what he already had some existing, and then he was going to add the Spam, and he soaked the Spam overnight with it. And that was his sauce. Hey, and we're back. Thanks, Interview Hive. I know there were some difficulties with the audio on the camera, and I apologize to James Takishita for that. Next time I have you on, I'll make sure and put the unidirectional mic that I have along with my backpack, so that when I take everything over, when I'm interviewing on the fly and on location, that it'll be something better and you won't have to worry about the audio. So hopefully the voiceover captured everything we were trying to do. It probably did not. There was a couple of great zingers in there that we had. And as you see, we were playing it safe by wearing a mask. So, but it was yummy. I went ahead and took that musubi and I took it home, and I ate half of it for lunch, and then I had the rest of it for dinner, and it was good, really good. You have made a spam, not necessarily a lover, James, but a spam liker, as in I like it. I wouldn't necessarily that be my go-to day in day out, but every now and then I know I've had some of James's spam items before for appetizers and stuff like that for the tasting parties that I would throw. And so it was good. And so I highly recommend it if you want to try something different. Stretch yourself, cook something that is considered a Hawaiian dish. Then be my guest. Certainly look it up. You can make whatever sauces you want. And Spam Musubi, that is Musubi. So Musubi. Check it out. Okay, so now, from the cooking, we go on to the second part of the show, which has to do with beer. One of my favorite topics, one of some of my other friends and family favorite topics. We like to drink different things. If you don't know, if this is your first time watching the podcast, thank you for watching the podcast. If it's not your first time, then certainly you know what this is all about. This section of the podcast has to do with beer reviews. When the Austin locked down, the day before they went into the first time they went into shelter at place, I decided I was going to do something a little different. I had a little time on my hands at the moment, and so I decided to start doing a beer review. So I did one beer, a different beer every day for the first 100 days of La Q, as I call it, the quarantine. So it was really good, and in fact, it was those reviews that led me to start doing the podcast. So thanks for that. And so I went and we did. I really drove to the depths of beer. I feel. I just grabbed the ones that looked interesting to me. Maybe had a cool can. Maybe had a brewer that I had drank from before, but not the beer that I had. And so 100 different beers in 100 days. It was quite exciting. I drank a lot of beer. To be honest, there was maybe less than 1% of the beer I did not like. I was frankly surprised and delightfully amazed that I had so many beers that I liked, that I would recommend, that I would tell my friends, hey, if you're looking for a stout, let me tell you this. If you're looking for a lager, how about that? Now, I don't necessarily have them off the top of my head. I did keep a spreadsheet, and we can talk about my little weirdness, personality quirks much later on in different podcasts. But it did help me to get used to being in front of a camera again and doing things a little differently. And so I enjoyed the beer reviews. They were fantastic. Most of the beer I got from the boutique. Actually, all of the beer in the first 100 I got from the great team out of Boutique, Scott and Jana. And Jana, by the way, I hope I'm saying your name right. I know Scott told me, but I didn't want to get it wrong, so I've been skipping your name on purpose. I apologize for that. So, Jana, and they provided me with some fantastic beers, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of background of some of them, and so it's been really fantastic exploring the beer world. There are so many beers out there. I have family and friends that are like, I stick to my Bud, or I stick to my Coors, or I stick to my Miller High Life, and I'm good. And that's okay. I'm certainly not going to tell you what to drink. However, if you want to try things that are totally different that you haven't had before, they're out there. There are tons of craft breweries out there now. Some of them are being bought up by the big guys, and you can tell when some of that change goes over, but some of them don't. I myself know of some breweries that I've looked into. Ola Brewery out in Hawaii, and we were talking about Hawaii earlier in the podcast. Ola Brew is just beginning to make inroads into California, and so they are mostly a cidery. And so if you like your ciders and you're in the West Coast out there in California, look for it. I know it's in some of the Whole Foods. and so definitely give them a shot. I myself have not been able to get a hold of any of that here in Texas. Not yet. I will be reaching out to them and see what I can do. Maybe I can get them on the podcast as well. There's also Attic Brewing out of Philadelphia. They are a new brewery out there, and I hope to get some of their beers soon. But before we do any of that, I've been going to the boutique. So if you haven't had an opportunity and you live in this area, stop on by the boutique. Let them know that Javier sent you. They might give you, a hot, a elbow five for knowing me. That's about all you get out of that. But talk to them. They are very knowledgeable. They will let you know of any new beer they have. Their Facebook page talks about it, and so it is really good. So, without further ado, I am going to have an non-pre-recorded beer today. This was one that is a little bit early. I should say it's not ready. So I mean it's early as in you won't normally see this type of beer until maybe October, maybe mid-September. So this is from Lakewood Brewing, which is I've definitely done reviews of Lakewood Brewing before out of Garland, Texas, and so this is their Punkel. When you're feeling a little funkle, it's time for some Punkel. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. This is their pumpkin pie spiced Dunkel beer. So if you haven't had Dunkel beer before, Dunkel style beer, go ahead and give it a look up, and you'll see everything that it talks about. It says here it pairs with smoked Gruyere cheese, turkey legs, and food comas. So of course, because it's Punkel. Maybe it's Punkel, maybe it's Punkel. I don't know. I'm gonna call it Punkel. And so pumpkin pie spiced Dunkel. So let's give it a shot. See what we got here. I'm gonna open it up. I'm gonna get my handy dandy little last stand brewing glass that I got from Scott and the team out there when they were out doing a tasting, when we could actually sit down and enjoy beer somewhere other than our home. So I'm pouring this. Really dark. Looks much darker on the camera, but it's pretty dark. It is a brown, dark beer. And I want to get the last little bit out of there. I like to have every little bit because normally I only drink one a day these days. So I like to get as much as I can out of it. So, skull, salute. Definitely has the pumpkin pie taste to it. Very surprising. You don't get much of a smell or an aroma of like pumpkin pie or the spices that are associated with pumpkin pie. At least I can't, and I can still smell it. So before everybody asks, I'm still COVID free, but I get a little bit of it now. I think the more that it aerates inside the glass and the more it's outside of the can, you definitely can have more of a smell of pumpkin pie. Now the taste is really interesting. I like it. It's definitely a pumpkin pie taste to it. I won't gross you out and say like this tastes like pureed pumpkin pie, because that is not the case. However, just tasting it, you do get that pumpkin pie on the front end and a little bit on the back end. So if you know the spices that are in pumpkin pie, there's usually pumpkin pie spice, which is composed of a bunch of spices, just like all spices composed of a bunch of spices. Excuse me. Oh, that was rude. I think you'll really like this beer. It's not like you're gonna find this type of taste from Starbucks in their pumpkin pie, their pumpkin spice, where you have to have a ponytail to buy it. But it is good. I do like it. So that's maybe something Jesse and I, my cousin Jesse and I, can do next week. We can certainly talk about some beers and go over what he likes and what I like, and suggestions we can make for each other. So that's an idea, Jesse. You let me know what you want to do, and we'll do it next week. All right. So for this Punkel, let me get that right. For a Punkel, I'm gonna go ahead and give this 8 thumbs up. That's right, 8 thumbs up because I really like it. I think it goes well. I don't know if it would go with turkey legs, but I think it would definitely go with some smoked ham for Thanksgiving. So I might have to see if I can hold on to these or not. Thanks again to Scott and Jana out there at the boutique. If you have a chance, swing on by. And so now I'm going to throw this back to a throwback of an earlier beer review I did. Still have many to post, and I will be posting them. And so here we go. Today we're looking at an Icelandic white ale. You see the side of the can, which is really cool. This is out of Iceland, of course. It's 5.2 ABV. This is a white ale, so far I've not judged any of these. You can read this on the side, if I can get it right. Interesting description there, really cool. Let me show you the beer itself. Great color. Has the hints of orange peel and coriander in it, which is great. Let me take a sip. Really good, light and refreshing. Goes down smooth, has a great finish. Not too heavy on the peel or coriander, like I said. And so it's really good. So overall, for the white ale, I'm going to give this 9 thumbs up. Thanks again to the team at Boutique for getting the beers for me. And I will be doing this again tomorrow. Have a good one. Hey, and I'm back now. So that was Einstück, I think. I don't think I pronounced it right in the video either. But it was a really good beer from Iceland. I liked it so much I reached out to the brewer themselves and sent them a note. I don't know whether they got it or not, but I felt like I needed to send them a note, so I did. And it was really good, and maybe one of these days I might even be able to have them on the podcast and talk a little bit about their beers, because they do have quite a few. This is the first time I had run across them, and I would be certainly willing to try more of their beers out, especially if they want to send me some. All right, so that's it for the podcast. I just want to let everybody know, thanks again for listening to the podcast and giving me the great feedback and comments and thoughts and suggestions that people have been giving me. It's been great. This is only episode 10, by the way, so there's a lot more episodes coming your way. There's a lot of people that are out there ready to and willing to be interviewed by me, and so we'll see what it's gonna be. I mean, there is so many things that I can talk about, and so many things that people can talk about, and I am willing to talk to them about it. So if you know somebody who has a passion about anything, or wants to shill something, they have a business, or they want to do something a little different, talk about something that they enjoy, reach out to me and direct message me, and I can set up a time we can interview, or reach out to them and let them know that I'm willing to interview them. And the only thing we avoid here are politics and religion. So everything else is on the table, and anything else you want to talk about, we will go for it. So hopefully everything, I will get to hear more people. Please subscribe to my YouTube video if you want. That way you will get notifications every time I have a video up and ready to be viewed. And certainly keep those comments coming and feedback. I hope everybody has a fantastic upcoming week, and I will reach out to you again next week. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you again later.